Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody, wherever you might be on a spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. If this is your first time, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, following synchronicities to create magic every day. If you're curious about energy magic, well then, you'll need to meet our returning guest today. She has had two major life-threatening health experiences. One, a 15-centimeter fibroid that she released herself. The other, a 4.5-centimeter brain tumor that she had surgically removed, and had many magical experiences through the process, discovering the secrets of alchemy. She merged this knowledge with 25 years of being a healer to create the Ascendance Code and energetically align with her higher self wisdom. Let's welcome back to the show, Elizabeth Makepeace. Welcome back, Elizabeth.
Hey, Dr. Paul. So good to be here. I thoroughly enjoyed our last call, so looking forward to this one.
Yeah. And leading into before we hit record, we were like, synchronicities. They're happening. More people are starting to notice it, but they're calling it something else. And I hate that word. Maybe not hate. I just despise it. Coincidence. I've never believed in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So give a definition. What's your definition of a synchronicity?
So synchronicity is the same. I don't like coincidence. Like it brings that random, that there's no connection to it, that somehow it's a mutation of the universe that just pops up, synchronicities is, in my opinion, is when you're in alignment with the flow of the universe, that quantum field, and your higher self. So you're getting like messages, you're getting cookie crumbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting these crumbs of information that you can then use to your advantage and support you to collapse time, move through at a faster speed and spiritually grow and ascend in your, your growth, your development, what we're here for, right?
Yeah. I've also noticed too that I believe this too, and may want to see what your thoughts are on it. Is when it comes to the spirit realm, whether they're ancestors, spirit guides, archangels. There's times where I feel that some of my spirit guides and or ancestors too will come in and instead of just like them just stepping in the room and just presenting themselves, what they'll do is they'll throw these like you said, breadcrumbs out. They'll give you a sign, they'll give you this and give you that and stuff like that. And depends on how much you're paying attention to it.
Absolutely.
And I consider those also synchronicities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like messages from the other side that, can lead you on the path of, and as you said, if you don't see them, then you're blind. You're going through the world. I mean, we're a spiritual being having a physical experience, right? Everyone's heard that. But we can get so caught up in the physical and just be so in, like amnesia. We've just got no concept of what's going on outside in that, that veil. But when we can tap into the veil and recognize that the veil doesn't necessarily talk to us like you and I are talking, right? There's so many different ways of communicating. And when you can tap into that communication, that's when, life becomes magic. That's when you can really start, moving in the direction of what your path was as a soul and what your soul wanted to experience here.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that there's more people. Do you see? I feel it especially here on the West. For those who don't know, you're chiming in from Australia, and here in the United States, I see a growing, I wouldn't say phenomenon. Some say it's a fad, a phenomenon, a new way of thought or a culture. But I see this growing phenomenon going on where people are tapping in. They're starting to recognize their higher self. They're starting to recognize there's more than the physical here, a lot more than just 10 years ago, 5 or 10 years ago. Maybe that lockdown a few years ago did something, but
yes,
it seems to be more commonplace now. Do you see that?
And I also think that we're so close. We're so close to this. There's a new level of consciousness coming, or that's here on the planet, and so many people. I've been, spiritually waking up. I think that like you have these big, illumination points, but I've been spiritually on this journey for like 25, 26 years.
Yeah.
And it's watching the fads, as you said, and like watching people when they get stuck in a particular way and a pattern and form, and then those that wake up, a little bit later, and then those that are really on the journey of just being completely open, completely innocent to what's available, and just listening without any agenda, like listening and staying open, heart spaced open, and following the directions. And, I don't know much about astrology. I don't know much about astrology and all of those parts of it, but I do know that, Pluto has just moved out of Scorpio and into Aquarius. So, here we are in the age of Aquarius, and us as humans have been singing about this, since the 60s and 70s or whatever. And so it's just on the brink of, a period of time, the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years or whatever, but definitely in the next 10 years. Some major shit's going to go down, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And
I feel it. There's definitely a changing of the guard.
Oh, well, absolutely. So this moment of chaos, and watching how that's playing out in all different realms, in all different structures, celebrities, politics, all the things, right? Like the human condition. And if you're not spiritually waking up or conscious at the moment, you need to open up, right? Because this is our time. This is the history that we have been waiting for. And if we're on the planet right now, we're part of that process. So synchronicities, if you're even wondering how do you tune into it, then keep listening to this conversation, right? Because the universe, your higher self, your guides, ancestors, all of that veil, that hidden veil, is waiting and sitting there going, hey, come this way,
Yeah. Yeah. What would be, as far as advising out there, those who haven't woken up yet, or those who are kind of like, I know there's something to this. What is it? What is it? I want, how do I attune myself? How do I attune myself to move forward and pierce that veil and be part of the team, so to
Yeah.
speak? What are some of the best ways for people to do that?
In my opinion, just having the intention is so powerful.
Mm.
If you just throw the desire out that I want to step into this realm, I want to have experience. I don't want it to be just knowledge that I'm reading in a book or listening on a podcast. If you truly want to start experiencing it yourself as an internal journey, then intention is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's an opening. Intention sort of opens up your field, and now you're you've got some sort of alignment starting, right? Because the universe is full of tension. You can either be in creative tension or you're in psychological tension. So if you're in psychological tension, then you're riding the roller coaster and you've forgotten to put your seatbelt on, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just shaking around, like all of that old conditioning from your childhood and family generational history and past lives and all the things that can hold us down and just weigh us down with dysfunctional beliefs and memories and emotions and all the things that tether us to the weight of the 3D world.
Mm-hmm.
That part of us can make it really rocky if we don't clean that up, right?
Yeah.
But if you set the intention to step into a new way of being, and intention is intention. So when you open yourself up to being innocent, stepping into the heart space instead of the mind, and just fully engaging with your environment and being open to the fact that there's whispers out there, and it could be from the radio, it could be from a podcast, it could be from a TV thing, or it could be from someone saying something. You were just saying before we got on here, synchronicity seems to be something that is around you at the moment. People are waking up to it. So here we are, perfect timing, right? Synchronistic of us to be talking about it.
Yeah.
Because the more it's in your field, there's this information, because now that you've set the intention, the universe dumps all of this stuff in front of you, and you just have to have eyes to see, ears to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that means being in your innocence instead of your ego, being open to the experience rather than closed-minded and still in your dysfunction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've also felt, as far as personal experiences are concerned, I've realized too that over the last decade or so, is to intensify or amplify the intention, especially using your thought and emotion, is bringing yourself into a state of meditation, and a state of whether it's deep meditation, it really doesn't matter, or prayer, however you want to call it, is that will help. I've noticed that actually helps intensify or amplify that energy, that magic, so to speak, to get those, get the ether of space, time, and everything moving, because like energy attracts like energy. So
Absolutely.
once you capture that thought and you go, this is what I'm thinking, you add that emotion to it, you're in deep, meditation, and now that's attracting that like energy. And now the quantum field is like, oh, there you go. It's like you're turning on that radio. That transmission.
Yes, absolutely. And it is like meditation really is, or prayer, opportunity to be still is really one of the first trainings or practices to start the process, because if we're always creating, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously, and so our unconscious is taking over the show 95% of the time. We're in our unconscious thoughts, so you need to break that pattern in some way. And even if it's just once a week, right? Once a week, daily is optimal. But if it's challenging, just something to clean that brush, like you're a painter. If you don't clean your brushes, how can you create beautiful art, right?
Yeah.
That paintbrush, if you don't clean that brush once a week, then the paint and the dirt and it's dry and you just can't create your life.
Yeah.
There's chaos.
That and the clutter and other clutter too is like, lack of a better word, the hoarder out there, the person that just collects everything, doesn't do anything with anything. It's just all laying around. You don't know what you have. It now owns you. And that creates an energy pattern around you that can cause dis-ease and all this unintentional bad energy that could be around you.
As an energy healer and an empath, I'm an intuitive empath. I'm a little bit better now, but I used to spring clean my house.
Yeah.
Literally spring clean my house. 3 to 6, 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
And it took me a while because I wasn't totally aware of why I was doing it. I'm also a Virgo, which apparently is one of those, right? The meticulous aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it took me a while as I grew and understood myself more, that what I was doing was I was cleaning the energy, because the energy would make a difference to my field. And so I'm the same now, but I clean in a different way, I can clean, I can feel when it's starting to infiltrate my energy and my field. And so, I have a lot of plants. I've got plants here. I've got so many, crystals. There's things around me that are here to raise my vibration, or at least create more harmony in my environment. And as soon as there's clutter, as soon as there's dust, I can feel it. It makes a difference in my field, right? And then that's lowering your field or causing, a little bit of the internal chaos. And then you can't hear or experience or see those synchronicities as much, because now your field's got a little bit of dirt, in it. And, if you're just starting out, that dirt's enough to completely stop you from seeing those synchronicities, right?
Yeah. That would definitely be a block. That was like you gotta break down that wall first in order to move forward down that path. I've also noticed too, if you agree with this, is as far as distractions for somebody who's first starting out and wanting to pierce this veil, getting away from unintentional, or I not unintentional, but entertainment that is not like true entertainment. Like, for instance, news. I don't know any news out there that's good news. There's no good news out there. And that's all they broadcast is bad news. It's like, I'd rather leave the church of bad news and move forward and go next door to the church of good news.
Yes. Yeah.
And staying there. What are your thoughts on all this noise out there of media and stuff like that, and how that can impress on someone moving forward?
It's really interesting. I offer a book that I read once.
Yeah.
It's remember the guy that I'm pretty sure Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yes.
Yes. His more famous book is called Think and Grow Rich, isn't it? Is that
Yeah.
one? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Think and Grow Rich.
He's got a book that not many people know about called Outwitting the Devil.
Mm.
And it's a channeling, like he's had a conversation.
Wow.
And sometimes knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do. And it's a really interesting, my partner, you know, I think I talked about it last time we were on here, talk about synchronicities, you know, like my life is full of crazy experiences, like 3 shooting stars when I first spiritually woke up, and you know, Oleander Street to Oleander Drive. Like I could talk all day about the different things that spirit gives me, and we'll move into that because I call it following the white rabbit, so that we can give some real tangible stuff to support your audience. But you know, I met my partner at the beach in this beautiful romantic experience, like the only two on the beach. I thought I was there by myself. He walks past, you know, and my maiden name as a healer is Payne, Payne, and his last name was Makepeace. Like Payne to Makepeace, right? Yeah. And that's the thing that I really want to emphasize is the more you actually start tuning into those synchronicities, it's like anything, any sort of growth creates an acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you start moving into the synchronicities, the more they become tangible, the more they have. So I've got this thing with names and places, and like, so it was just, I just laughed, you know, like, okay, you know, like I know where I'm going with this. Well, he was a muggle when I first met him. But very curious, very open, you know, like, and so he's on his own little journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. And he stumbled across this Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. And
the guy is channeling, and he actually never published it because the devil told him, you know, the being that he was channeling told him if he ever put it to the public, it would cause chaos in his family lineage. So he never published it. His wife never published it. They've now passed, and his family. So it's only been published in maybe the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. I'm just guessing. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But one of the things that the devil talks about in this book is he calls it drifting. So his whole thing, and or let's take it away from an entity. For us to stay in our unconscious, we are being distracted big time, so that, and you know, we could go into conspiracy theories, and that's not appropriate, but something is, and maybe, you know, it is for your program, I'm not sure, but
there's a separate show for that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so something is, like, let's say the powers that be, right? Whatever they may be to you and to us and whatever, but there is something that is causing us a distraction. And let's say it's a collective unconscious that wants to keep us unaware of our internal power, of our ability to consciously create our own reality. And so there's this distraction and this conditioning that's out, like, that's happening and has been for millennia, like, you know, just constantly looking external to ourselves. And the very nature of our being is part of that process, because when you think about it, we're this beautiful, pure, and this is premise, right? This beautiful, pure spirit that could just have a thought and it's manifest instantly. and we decide we want to experience ourselves. So here we go into a womb, and, you know, we're birthed however we're birthed, but all of us were birthed. And when we were in the womb, everything was done. We didn't have to breathe. We didn't have to eat. We just had to be. And then we come out into this world. Well, all of a sudden that umbilical cord's cut. All of a sudden you're having to breathe in air. That, can you imagine what it would be like? That first lot of air that went into our lungs, like, would have been extremely painful.
Oh, yeah.
And so next thing, we need warmth external to ourselves. We need food external to ourselves. We need love external to ourselves. And from the very moment we're born, we have an us and them experience. So now we're in duality. Now we're external. We need things outside of ourselves to survive. And the very nature of being human means that we're now looking external instead of back internally, connecting into our own internal wisdom, our intuition, being guided, expressing ourselves as a creator instead of being caught up in the past. Mm-hmm. So all of the things, the news reels that you see on you know, social media, like, is an external distraction so that we drift.
Yeah.
So that we drift into nothingness, and we forget how powerful we are, that the universe and us are one, that we are this part of a guiding light, and that we have the ability to create magic and miracles on a daily basis if we just knew it and believed.
Yeah. Tuning in and tuning in, yet tuning out. That's what we got to do first.
Yeah.
Tune out to tune in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Changing that channel.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting too thing, you know, when it comes to changing that channel and tuning. That's essentially what we are doing. We are changing the frequency and the vibration of our being. And I'll get it all the time. I'm sure you get it. You know, every now and then you feel like your ears start ringing, or one ear, left ear, right, whatever, whichever, it'll start ringing, like somebody's like tuning that short band radio, and you're like, what in the world is going on? And then it just slowly goes away. Because when that happens, I go, all right, I'm ready. What do you got to tell me?
I'm listening. Yeah. And everyone gets it differently, right? Like,
yeah.
some people, I don't get that hearing thing. For me, it's more of a knowing. Like, it's like, oh, you want me to take notice of this? And you know, for Tim, my partner, his is a shiver in his body. You know, so each person has a different way of communication with the energy.
Yeah.
But I call them illumination points. And I used to be a massage therapist, and someone's guide came through in the middle of a massage, and this guide gave me that, said that there's these points that illuminate more than other parts of the field.
Yeah.
And they're the parts that you want to take notice of, because they're the ones that you can go left, right, backwards, forwards, whatever, but they're an opportunity to go somewhere else in the puzzle. And so, and this is the thing, right? We were sort of talking about this before we started. People can start, when they first start seeing synchronicities, often it's things like, white cards, right, or blue cards, or whatever it might be, you know, like, seeing more of those cars, and, you know, there's triple numbers. I've always seen 111, 555, triple whatever it is, you know. And for those that are not conscious of it and are just starting out, they go, there's that number again, and then within seconds they've forgotten. But when you start opening up and you've set that intention now, right, and you're like, okay, I want to have an experience of spiritually growing, instead of just hearing it from other people, I want to start experiencing this. So I've set the intention and now I'm open to receive, right? And so you might start getting these numbers. You go, okay, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? Where was I at that time? What was I consciously being aware of? And it gives you that reference point. Okay. And maybe it's you constantly get 555s. Well, okay, why 5? So, you go on Google, angel numbers mean, what does the meaning of 555 in angel numbers? Which, by the way, if you Google any number sequence, there's an angel number for it, right? And it'll give you a meaning. So it can be, whatever it is, what I don't even know. But just say it's, you're being asked to spiritually wake up, for example. Until you make that next move and there's something shifting your consciousness, you're going to get the same number over and over again. And, and then there'll be an awareness, an awakening, or something happens where you step into that next piece of the puzzle or whatever, next part of the board. And then you start getting a different number. Well, then you can start moving that into bigger and better things. And I've had, because I think I've told you about this, I call this follow the white rabbit. Because, when I created this part of my business, the Ascendance Code, when you're in business, you start with a business coach and they say, who's your avatar? You've got to name them. You've got to, how old are they? And blah, 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 right? Well, out of the blue, out of nowhere, I get Alice. I don't know why I used Alice, but Alice was the name that I used about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, long story short of that part of the story, Alice, I realized, because what I do is support people to unplug and get out of the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alice became Alice in Wonderland, because when I first saw her, she's all of a sudden I'm getting flashes of this gothic Alice in black and white. And then I realized, well, actually, when she's in duality, when she's in 3D, she's in this black and white realm, like she doesn't know who she is.
Yeah.
But when she steps out of the matrix, she's in color, right? She goes down the rabbit hole and into Wonderland. When you start really starting to connect in and open your eyes and hear things and all the things, you can have threads and energetic threads that you're following that can be just, a couple of days or one day. I've had the very first thread that I realized was a thread. I'm not even sure if it's still finished, but it was about, I think it started, I'd say, maybe about 18 years ago.
Mm.
And it's still like, and you won't have anything for a while, and then something happens and you go, oh, that's that thread.
Yeah.
It's can I share the thread?
Yeah.
Because it's actually a really interesting one.
Absolutely.
A friend of mine was starting out doing spiritual stuff and was having her first women's circle, and she wanted me to come and just be there as a support and encouragement and all the things. And we did this walking meditation where we had to walk, look at our mother's eyes and forgive our mother, and then step into our mother's eyes, and then you'd see the next woman, right? So your grandmother and your great-great-grandmother, and you're going down that lineage.
Yeah.
Well, I've got no idea about my family lineage. I knew that my mum hated my grandmother. I never really got to meet her. I do know that my great-grandmother is who I'm named after, Elizabeth Elanor, and I knew that she was a staunch woman, but that's as far as I knew. So here I am in this walking meditation, and I start walking, and here's my grandmother, and I have this experience of, oh my God, she was evil because she was not in her body, and she had had a horrific childbirth, and so she was not quite in her body, and so she had entities coming into her body, right? So that blew me out. So then I see the next woman, and she's my, name. I'm named after her, and she's this beautiful woman. And it goes on to the next, this woman that's coming over from England, and she's just baking bread, right? She's like, I'm just baking bread. And I could tell that she was a woman of the herbal medicine, magic, what people would call a witch. And she was hiding who she was, because in those days, she was going to get killed.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, here's another Elizabeth. And so I can't wait to get out of the event to ring my mum up and say, what do you know? And the first thing I said was, what do you know about your mum's birth? And she said, well, I don't know much, but I do know that she was born really severely damaged, and grandma didn't get to see her for about a month because her face was all mangled and blah, blah, blah. And I went, oh my God, I saw that in the because I was new to it all, right? I didn't really know if I believed it all.
Yeah.
So that blew me out, right? So next thing I'm thinking, well, actually, I'd like to get my family tree done to see if I can find another Elizabeth in our lineage. Well, that all goes, months go by, and I'm at a festival, and I'm standing there watching the children's parade go past, and I can feel someone in my field, and I look down, and here's this beautiful elder Indigenous woman next to me. And she looks up and smiles because she realizes I know and she knows, right? And all of a sudden she just looks at me and she says, you need to find your bloodline. I went, huh?
Wow.
And she said, yeah, I know mine. And we laughed, right? And she said, but you need to find your bloodline. She said, and she didn't know me from bar of soap,
Yeah.
And she said, when you find your bloodline, she said, your healing is going to triple.
Wow.
And I went, okay, so this is a connection, right? So then I'm like, okay, so how do I find my bloodline? How do I do a family tree? Don't know much about it. Was a single mum at the time, didn't have any money, was massaging. I used to get this truck driver come and have a massage, and I did massage and energy work. So I was like, what's this guy coming for? Like he's a truck driver, but he was coming for months, and I just couldn't understand why. And so weeks later, maybe even a month or so later, I have this thought, why is this guy coming? Well, next thing I know, I'm telling him the story of this conversation with this woman and this connection with the meditation. And he goes, oh, my next door neighbor is a genealogist who's retired, but she loves doing it. Her husband's got Parkinson's, and she loves doing it. So she does it for free for people. Here's a number.
Wow.
So he gives me this woman's number, stops coming for a massage. Like it was like waiting for that to happen. And I don't think he knew that either.
Yeah.
Never came for another massage. I ring this woman up. She does my family tree, and lo and behold, we're from Dorset, and here's another Elizabeth, right?
Wow.
Now, that thread has been going on. I've had another 2 or 3 things, and I haven't gone to Dorset yet, but there has been other coincidences or synchronicities that have happened since that are leading me, and next year I'm planning to go to Dorset so that I can experience being on the land, feeling the earth, and seeing what happens from there.
Yeah.
So can you see how if I hadn't have linked them, this would be a thread that, like, I've not been ever interested in my family lineage. There's no, like, until this happened, there was nothing else that was grabbing me to move to this. And yet there's some point in my life, in my future experience, that I feel something's going to happen when I plant my feet on that ground. and go to Dorset and maybe meet people, or there's something that's, and that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes life more than just this mundane, everyday, let's drift on social media and watch the news,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now you're your own story, your own adventure. Now you've got things that are happening that you could write your own book about, so that when you leave this body, you go up, and say, man, I just smashed that. That was so cool. Let's do it again.
And that's the thing, is like that is more adventurous, is instead of being on social media all the time and sitting on the couch all the time, watching news, watching all these shows, blah, 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 blah. Go out there, learn about yourself. Learn about what, your direct self, what your talents are, what you're good at, your family history, tapping in, meditation, all these metaphysical arts, stuff like that. It's like, but
There's so much more.
Everybody is trapped in this subconscious
Illusion.
Prison. It's a prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it is.
And we are depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're depressed. Like, we are so disconnected from ourselves that we're weighted down onto this planet almost with an anchor,
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're doing it to ourselves. So if you're listening and, blown out by any of this is nothing special from anybody in particular. This is your opportunity to listen to your magic and to step into your own way of exploring what you and your higher self were here to experience, right? Like,
Yeah.
Go on your adventure with your higher self, because that part of you is just so waiting for you to listen and wake up.
Yeah. And this being going to broadcast the beginning of the year, it's like that should be the New Year's resolution for everybody, is explore who your true self is. I'm starting something. I'm going to try something new when it comes to meditation. Sometimes it's hard for me to get into meditation unless I subdue something about myself physically to get myself into that. I'll burn incense, I'll burn a candle, turn all the power, turn all the actual artificial lighting off, burn a candle and, and incense and stuff, and then have some music kind of going in the background. But this time I'm going to try a sauna, a steam sauna.
Yes.
Going in the steam sauna and just like be in complete darkness or light, however what you do it. But anyway, what it does is it pulls the toxins out of your body, and you're there, and you go into deep meditation. And now you're kind of creating that environment in order for your body to kind of boom or leave the body. I'm like, who knows? Yeah. How far down the rabbit hole am I going to go? I don't know. I'll let you know.
Yeah. I do the same with float tank.
Oh.
We have a float. Yeah, we have a float tank once a month. So total lack of stimulation, darkness, so that you're just there with yourself. I've had some pretty trippy experiences in a float tank. So
Yeah. I've seen some of those deprivation chambers too, where it's like the water that you're in is to perfect body temperature. It matches your body temperature, so you can't feel anything. You can't even feel your own body, and it's so quiet. And your ears are just below the water level, where you can hear your heartbeat.
Yeah. Beautiful,
like,
right?
Whoa, it's trippy.
Womb energy. Yeah.
Oh man.
So talking about the Follow the White Rabbit, I have a webinar that I did. I think it's been about 3 or 4 months since I did it, with some more information, a little meditation on, following Alice down the rabbit hole, like
Yeah.
following the rabbit. So if that's something that your audience would be interested in, I can share that resource as well.
Definitely. And that brings up, where can people find you?
So my website is Elizabeth Elanor, and Elanor is spelt a little bit differently. It's Elenor. So it's elizabetheleanor.com. And actually Follow the White Rabbit is on there as well. And yeah, Facebook, Instagram. My business page is the Peacemaker Ascension Portal. So it's a bit of a movement. Let's change the vibration of the planet, and let's ascend as peacemakers and move into this new way of being and this new earth. So yeah, you can find me in all those little places.
Yeah, things are changing. There's people recognizing it. And yeah, it's time. It's time for those who are recognizing that there's a shift and they want to be part of this shift to get on board. The ship is getting ready to leave port. Get on. It's time to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The next few years are going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah. So before we wrap up the show today, what would you like to, aside from the White Rabbit, what else would you like to leave as a takeaway for our audience today?
Really the same sort of thing as I always say, and I'm pretty sure I would have said the same last time, is to recognize yourself as a creator. That regardless of whether you're creating unconsciously or consciously, you're creating every single second, every single moment. So, it's all about releasing the old limitations, the beliefs, the stories of the past, and going, what do I choose instead? So when you're stepping into an experience and you're finding yourself responding the way you normally do, just see if you can stop and pause, have a moment of clarity of like, oh, wait a minute, this is I'm being conscious to an unconscious pattern here. What do I choose instead? And just move into something a bit different. And the more you do that, this incremental movement will start the brainwave frequencies recognizing a new pattern, and it starts moving into a new way of being rather than fixated in the past.
Yeah. These there's interesting times coming, and there's people starting to recognize this shift, and this is definitely the show. This is the introductory show of getting people ready. This episode here is getting people ready.
Yes,
I wake up, people! Wake up!
Yeah. And if you've listened this far, right? If you're new to the seance and you've listened this far, then that's a sign. That's a sign in itself. And I know that, I listen to your podcast and you've got some amazing people on here. So, definitely keep an eye on this show as well, because you're so in alignment with the way things are that the people that you have, the guests that you have, is no coincidence either, right? So there's a flow. Yeah. So be interesting to see who you have next and the White Rabbit moments as they go along.
2025 is going to be a very interesting year. It's going to be interesting. And I had a sign within the last couple of days. Something is telling me to plan a trip to Australia. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but there's something too, as far as like maybe a spiritual walkabout.
Yep.
Get with the tribes and stuff like that out there and do one of the spiritual walkabouts, some of the ley lines, because I know they have the ley lines. They can go out with some of the tribes and they'll take you on a spiritual walkabout. I'm like, oh yeah.
So that's Northern Territory, and
Yeah.
I've actually heard done some following threads again, looking a little bit into Lemuria, and there's tribes in Northern Territory in the Arnhem Land, that still got that Lemurian energy.
Wow.
Like yeah, so still the same sort of culture, the whole thing, and they know it, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, so definitely if you come out, I mean, it's a big area, right?
Yes, it's a lot of land.
Yeah. People think that Australia is small down under, but it's pretty much the same size as US.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do end up coming over and you end up in Sydney area, then we'll have to meet up.
Yeah, because I think a lot of my followers, as well as some of the other guests too. Katish has been on our show a couple times, and she's from Brisbane, from Queensland, and that's north of you. Yeah, that's north of you. All right. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, if I go anywhere, start on that side.
Yeah. So I lived up in Queensland for 16 years.
Yeah.
Right up to the tip, like on that little tip at the very top. I was living up there in the rainforest. Wow. Beautiful. Australia is so diverse. So
yeah, you go from desert to jungle. Man, yikes.
Yeah. To beach. Yeah.
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 Oh man. Elizabeth, namaste. Thank you, my friend. Blessings. Thank you for being with us today and sharing the knowledge of synchronicity and helping wake people up.
It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed talking to you, Paul.
Definitely. And welcome back anytime too. We got something else you want to touch on, you want to talk about, a new program, a new adventure, a new rabbit hole.
Yes. Awesome. Will do.
Cool. Thank you very, very much, Elizabeth. And thank you, everybody, for watching in to the seance. And we will see you next time.